Hi everyone, welcome back to another guitar tutorial. Thanks a lot for joining me. Hope you're really well. Today's lesson we're going to be having a quick look at how you can use some really simple ideas to make your guitar solos more melodic. Something I get asked about quite a lot within my guitar teaching, my private guitar teaching, is how to take a scale and basically make it sound more musical. And really that comes back to note targeting. So specifically targeting certain notes within the scale to match the chords that we're playing over is basically the idea. So that can be quite daunting for a lot of people when they first start, and it's also overlooked by a lot of people, I think, when they're improvising. You might find yourself just noodling around with the scale and not sounding particularly melodic, not sounding particularly musical with it, and that's generally because the notes that you're playing aren't always the best fit for the chords that you're playing over. Now this is a subjective topic. There's certain notes that, you know, to some people sound really great over chords and other notes don't sound so great, but we're not going to be going in depth too much with this. We're going to be really looking at just root notes to start with, just to get you kind of started with this whole idea of note targeting, and then we'll explore some other notes that you can use in a later lesson. So we're going to be talking about the A minor pentatonic scale. Shocker, I know, but it's a really accessible scale. Most people know it. And so just to recap that scale for anybody that doesn't know it, on the E string that's 5 and 8, on the A string 5 and 7, on the D string 5 and 7, the G string 5 and 7, the B string 5 and 8, and then 5 and 8 finally on the high E string. So the minor pentatonic scale is made up of 5 individual notes, and they are the notes A, C, D, E, and G. And in this particular scale pattern, we repeat those notes twice. So we're having effectively a 2-octave A minor pentatonic scale. And all we're going to do today is we're going to focus on 3 of those notes. The A note, which is the 7th fret of the D string, which is the root note of our scale, of course. And then we're looking at the D note, which is here the 7th fret of the G string. And finally the E note, which is the 5th fret of the B string. So that's A, D, and E. Once you've kind of got those notes under your fingers, we're going to be having a look at basically targeting them over a minor blues progression. So I'll put up on the screen the actual chord progression we're going to be playing, but we're going to be playing over an A minor, a D minor, and an E minor chord. So what we're aiming to do is to target these specific notes over the chords as they change. And this is also going to help us to really know the notes on the fretboard as well. So hopefully by the end of this exercise, you'll be really familiar with where the A, D, and E notes are within that minor pentatonic scale. And this again is something that's really important when it comes to note targeting. Obviously we need to know what the notes are that we're aiming for and what their relationship is with the chord that we're playing. And again, starting really simply with root notes, but this expands outwards to other notes from within the chord as well. The first thing I'd recommend that you try is just playing the single root note and following the progression along, and just trying to change when the chord changes. So imagine you're just playing a 12-bar blues with minor chords. Instead of playing the chord, you're actually just going to play a single note. So I've got a little 12-bar minor blues in my looper, so I'll show you what I mean with that. There's our A. Now I'm going to go to the D note, hear how the chords changed, and back to the A. Now we're going to go to the E, D, and then A. Back to E at the end, and back to A again. Changes coming up here. Back to the A again. The E, D, A, and then E finally. Okay, so you can hear how, I know it's really, really basic, but the idea is to hear where the chord changes are and to kind of hear how the note really, you know, makes you hear that chord change and really outlines the chord change really effectively. So that's the first step. So again, getting these things into your ear is such an important part of this whole thing, because if you can't hear when the chords are changing, it's very, very difficult to target notes over those chords. So to elaborate on that then, the next step, once you get a bit more confident, is just to add some of the other notes of the scale around those target notes. So again, keeping it really simple to start off with. There's no need to try and do anything too fancy, but I'll give you an example of what we could do now, focusing on notes that are either side of those kind of target notes and trying to land specifically on those notes again for the chord changes. So again, nothing too fancy, but just thinking about the notes that are either side of those target notes. Hopefully you'll agree that that's starting to sound a little bit more melodic now. Again, the information is simple, but you can hear that the whole thing, that's still just the minor pentatonic scale. The whole thing is now starting to sound more musical, and it's starting to sound like it's following the chords. It's great for developing your listening skills. You know, you're really having to listen out for when the chords are changing underneath you, and also for learning the notes on the fretboard, because now we're going to be, you know, really familiar with that A, D, and E notes on the guitar as well. So when you played around with that for a little while, there's one other area of this scale that we could have a look at, just to kind of give you something else to work with as well, and that's going to be, there's a little extension, as I call it, that's sort of the BB box, out of position 2 of the minor pentatonic scale, and that's going to be the 9th fret of the G string, 8 and 10 on the B, and then 8 and 10 on the high E string as well. So within that scale, our A note now is at the 10th fret of the B string, D is the 10th fret of the E string, and then E finally is the 9th fret of the G string. Exactly the same concepts apply. We're trying to just focus on those 3 particular notes within that little triangular box. And again, that could sound something like this. To the D. That's A. E. Other position. To the D. Here's the E. The E there now. And so on and so forth. So, you know, you can have a lot of fun with that, but hopefully that all makes sense. Once you get the hang of this whole idea, it really does open up the possibilities and the melodic possibilities of these scales that hopefully you're already familiar with. You know, hopefully this gives you something to work on and will transform your playing into sounding a little bit more melodic really, really quickly. Like I said, we'll probably do some more lessons in the future to explore some of the other notes that we can target. Of course, you know, it's not just root notes that we want to be aiming for over particular chords, but this will get you started. So if you enjoyed the lesson, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed it for more videos. And I will see you again in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.